What up, guys? Annie tier Anime Familia. Going to be doing a brief little reaction. Well, not reaction, it's reading. But yeah, we're going to be doing a little bit of reading for a wild last boss appeared volume 1. We technically I think this was the right page I was on. It's been a bit since I was reading this light novel, but we're going to get back to it. Oh, I did not mean to do that, but it's okay. Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, we're gonna be reading this because I want to get back into the series. Of course, Danny was able to donate to us, so encouraged us to do more videos like this. And by the way, Danny, if you're reading this, just to let you know right now, this isn't gonna be like, oh, this after this. No, like this is gonna be we're gonna be going through a series of reading. But yeah, I do intend to at least finish volume 1. Not in this stream, but in the not in this recording, but in the upcoming recordings. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's get to it. Dinah, I think that's how you say her name. And I nodded understandingly. Apparently, in each of this country's separated areas had its own dedicated purpose. Now that I know that, I really want to just explore, and after I get everything I need out of the library, I'll probably be fun to take a nap around this place once. Huh. Thank you, this was helpful. Then we'll be going this way. Hey, just wait a second, girls. Are you really going there on foot? The day will be over by then. Okay, so from what I remember, the last boss, I keep forgetting her name, and Dina, I don't know how to properly pronounce her name, but they're basically venturing out after the one that created this character, this last boss. Again, I keep forgetting her name. I know it's a dude technically underneath there. They're venturing out and becoming familiarizing themselves with the world because this character has been in dormant for quite a while. Anyway, I'll refamiliar myself with everything soon. Just as we were about to walk off again, the man stopped us. Then he took a map out of his pocket and started talking. This country's pretty damn big. Each arena's like 500 kilometers by its... Jesus, fuck, that's huge. And if you put all together with the castle area in the center and all the bridges, this entire city's 2,500 kilometers. Trying to go everywhere by foot will kill all your time, you know? I mean, true, but I'm assuming they have, like, being able to move from one place to another isn't that difficult for them. I'm just making an assumption. Then how do you all get around? We use the monorail. Follow me. I'll show you to the terminal. Monorail? Is it kind of like a... Is it like is it like a train or like a bus? Sounds similar. A monorail, huh? This is getting really modern all of a sudden. I mean, it's not like this world doesn't have its science, and it's even got magic, so I guess it's not surprising that there's one or two convenient vehicles around. I bet the monorail moves on magic or something. Oh, whoops. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Gantz. I'm a mercenary who's working as a border guard for this country. I'm off today, though. I'm Dina, a free merchant. This person wearing a red mantle excluding suspiciousness at full force is my employer. Sfalu? Is that how you say it? Not sure. Without a word, I stepped on Dinah's foot. Dinah shouted in pain, but I ignored her. What kind of a person introduces another with exuding suspiciousness at full force? I mean, it's completely true, but you're the one that told me to dress like this in the first place. I remember that after Dinah encountered this boss, or however she addresses herself, or him, or whatnot, told her to dress very conservatively. You've got quite the getup, haven't you? Well, you'll probably got your own problems, so I won't pry. Thank you. I'm glad that he won't pry. I said my thanks and followed Gantz as he started walking. I'd like to ask you some questions about this place, is that okay? Sure, ask away. Gantz agreed right away to Dina, bro, fuck that name. I'm sorry. Excuse my language. He was a really good guy to be this kind to us, even though we had just met. My first impression of him really wasn't wrong, it seems. First, this country split into 5 areas. As for how they're split, first, the southern area, where the entrance is the trade district. Southern trade district, got it. For those who just entered this country, it's made to be the first place you enter anyway. This place has everything. There's a lot of stores competing with each other, after all, but these last few years, ARIES of the 12 heavenly stars keeps attacking, so this place is a little less crowded than it should be. My head's starting to hurt. I'm getting real complicated feelings towards the actions of a subordinate. Right. This person that she is referring to, ARIES, one of the 12 heavenly stars, was her subordinate or someone here. Bro, I don't know. Should I identify the main character as like a he or a she? I'm confused. And anyway, I haven't even seen yet. For now, I'm gonna kick you once in the head when I meet you, ARIES. Be ready. Of course, I won't be holding back at all. Don't worry. If memory serves, ARIES should be at the max level for a tamed monster of mine. 800, so he shouldn't die even if I kick him for real. Okay. Okay. Level 800. Bro, what's the level cap in this again? Getting off topic, a monster tamer's monsters level were made so that they could never exceed their masters. For example, even if a monster was level 1000 in the wild, when tamed, if the tamer's level was 500, their level would be reduced below that. The formula was the tamer's total level 2 plus class level times 3. For me, the max level would be 500 plus 300 or 800. Also, if, for example, the formula exceeded the tamer's level, like if the tamer's total level was 100 and their class level was also 100, making the theoretical level 350, the tamer's total level was set as the limit instead. So it was impossible for a tamed monster to be stronger than its tamer. I mean, that's like basic rule when it comes to a lot of games. Like if you capture a character, if you capture a creature or whatever, the creature, when you face it, is inevitably much stronger than you. But whenever you capture or tame whatever it is, the level is significantly reduced. I don't know why that is the rule of gaming. I don't make up the rules. I don't agree with those rules, but hey, again, I didn't make up the rules, guys. They did it. Again, me personally, I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. And even then, it's not that hard raising your, at least in theory, I think it's not that hard. Anyway, in other words, with the formula, it was only possible to have monsters be the same level as the tamer up to level 600. And that was assuming the tamer's class level was maxed out. And at level 700 over, they completely started to be eclipsed by the tamer. So at that level, it was actually better to just party up with some players at the same level. Not only that, but tamers could only bring one monster with them at a time. Well, that sucks. Even if the tamer had over 100 monsters tamed, they could only bring them out one at a time. Of course, that was because it was a great game balance if players were allowed to go around with tons of monsters stronger than them. So we're going into game balancing games, huh? To be fair though, this is starting to sound like Pokemon the way this guy is talking about it. And solo play would run rampant. That's true. I mean, thinking about it logically, like I'm actually really trying to wrap my head around it. It actually makes sense. Why would you let people run around with monsters out in the open? Like, let's just say someone really did had like 100 monsters and they go around the game just like flaunting it and flexing it everywhere. Why would you even have parties at that point? Just gather a bunch of monsters, take them out, and that's your party. You can literally play solo. There would be no encouragement to party up with other people. However, because you can only have one monster accompany a tamer, that encourages even more people to party up, because you have the party members plus one. Well, I say plus one, assuming the other party members themselves don't have any monsters. But if they do have monsters with them, this will greatly, even significantly, raise the percentage on like the party succeeding on whatever goal they're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't discourage you from taming monsters, but it doesn't encourage you to do things solo. Anyway, MMOs based around team play. Naturally, by paying for it, players could solve this problem and start toting level 1000 monsters. Well, in the end, it'll still just be a two-person party. It wouldn't change the fact that it was still better to party up with other players. The eastern area is the academics district. Academics, so alchemy, I'm assuming, or the school of education. I've told you about this already, so I'm just gonna skip this part. No, you didn't. Shut the fuck up. Tell me more. Damn it, you bastard. Anyway, next is the western area, the industrial district. Starting with the monorail, I just told you about. All the magic engines that power vehicles and other tools are produced there. Of course, we're not as good as Blutgang, said to be the country of craftsmen, though that place is famous for having most of them there. Magic engines, Blutgang, we've never heard of either of these. I've listened to him talk while I whispered questions to Diane, who was beside me. I knew of neither of those names. At the very least, they were they weren't around when I was playing the game. Sorry guys, I have like, there we go. Sorry, I had something covering the text. Anyway, Diane whispered back, magic engines were invented by Migres 20 years ago. They're a system that uses mana as fuel. Okay, so gasoline. It's much cheaper and more efficient than the traditional coal, so it's really hot right now. However, it's almost unusable by the Heaven Wing, so at the moment, coal is still more prevalent. Okay, so they discovered a new way of using utilizing their resources, instead of using coal or gas or whatever type of resources that is needed. They've discovered, while it is a more cleaner and more convenient use, it isn't all the well completely useful to everyone. So it's kind of like when we have a PS3 and someone finally decided to come out with the PS4, but not everyone can use the PS4, so PS3 is still around. I'm not sure if that logic applies that way, but that's what I got. So that's it's that, right? It's just oil. I don't know how much mana is around the world, but I wonder if sorry. I wonder if we'll run out of mana if we keep using it like this, or is mana something that basically infinite? I'm clueless on this subject. Well, mana is... That is a good question. How would you describe mana? Would you describe mana as this source of life energy? Kind of like ki in certain anime, or reishi like in Bleach, chakra like in Naruto, mana like in Magic the Gathering, because that's the only thing that comes to mind. But yeah, what would you describe mana as? I describe it as life energy. Anyway, I can't use mana myself, so I guess I don't care, right? Blutgang is a country founded by one of the 7 heroes. The blacksmith king Mizar. It's called the country of craftsmen, and a lot of the dwarves, amongst other races, take residence in that country. Most of the world's industrial goods are manufactured there and exported. Huh. So is Rimuru in this series? We see industry. I know even less about jobs like that where you make things. I muttered an appropriate reply and once again concentrated on what Gantz was saying. The northern area is the residential district and almost all living quarters are concentrated there. It's the furthest away from the gates, so right now it's the second safest area. Second safest? Would it not be the safest since it's the furthest away? Well, of course, that's because it's not guaranteed that monsters will behave themselves and come from the front door. Even though this place is a natural fortress surrounded by a lake on all sides, it's not guaranteed that monsters won't come charging in from behind us. Actually, monsters that can fly or swim have in fact gone around and invaded from another area. Uh-oh. We're getting into politics as well as power struggles here. At least that's the impression I'm getting. Okay. Let's see. Having heard that, I replied, we see. True, there's no need to be polite and come in through the front door only to be forced to deal with the border guards. In fact, it'll be more natural not to. Gantz must have figured out my confusion. So he offered a follow-up. Well, doing that takes an extraordinary amount of work. The lake surrounding this place is actually a water golem created by Sir Megrez. That's why if anyone tries to force themselves through the water, they'll just find themselves a victim to it. Oh, gotcha. So a water golem? Sounds like a fucking shark. What is this, Jaws? Has anyone ever seen the Jaws movies? Because that's the vibe I'm getting. Or maybe Meg? Anyway. Okay. Isn't it awesome? It's a golem that's a whole lake big enough to surround this country, you know? It's totally a guardian deity that protects this whole country. I honestly was impressed by the fact that I was also a level 100 alchemist, but I'd never thought of a golem that would be an entire lake. I see. So stuff like that's totally possible because this isn't a game anymore. In the game, there was no way anything that'll change the map itself would work, but this was reality. That meant that as long as the materials were there, you could totally do what you wanted with your surrounding land. Let's try something out if I ever get the chance. But still, a water golem, huh? Megrez made something pretty cool here. Heavenly mana infused water makes for pretty good material. If he made a golem out of that, wouldn't it be surprising if it's level 500? Let's see. I guess I should check its stats just in case. I thought and turned on my observing eye. Her observing eye lets her check stats and overall information about certain things, right? Is that still considered like a game mechanic that he had within this guy's character? Or is this something gifted to him like some isekais do? Anyway, Guardian Deity Livia, level 500. God damn, that thing is strong as shit, ain't it? God dang. Let's see, level 500. Race, artificial life form. So does it not have a species? What species is it? The most I got is a golem, but I wish I had like a picture to paint it with. HP, Jesus Christ, god damn, 180,000 HP is crazy. SP 0. Okay, so it doesn't specialize in spells or anything like that. Strength 2,750, dexterity 800, vitality 3,400. Okay, so vitality. So I'm assuming it's good defensive wise, like it has an exceedingly large amount of HP. I'm just guessing. Okay, intelligence 650. Gotcha, it's stupid. Agility 1,000. 1028. Huh. Agility isn't crazy, but not that bad for a big fella, surprisingly. Mine, 722. Yeah, you really are stupid. Luck. Very lucky. So it seems like it could be a tanker. Gantz, level 82. Okay. Race human. Class levels warrior 82. HP 6. Okay. Bro got a lot of HP. SP 476. Huh. Strength 303. Dexterity 263. Vitality 368. Intelligence 99. Damn, you're dumber than the whale. You're dumber than the golem. Agility 245. Huh. So he seems more like a magic user. No, yeah, magic user. His vitality is his second highest stat, and SP is his highest stat. So I would say this guy specializes more in using his magic. Mine 70. God damn, dude. Bro, you are dumb as shit. God damn. Luck 208. So its level is 500, just like I expected. For a world where a sword saint is level 120, it's more than powerful enough. More than anything, its HP pool is massive. Probably because of all the water it's a part of it. I mean, what the hell? 180k at level 500? Is that a bug? For golems that can't use stat boosting items, it's an overwhelming number. Normally, a level 500 golem using mana water would have around 50k HP. Golems made out of water get a little extra HP, but only a little. To be able to drag that up to 180k, I can only compliment the Wise King on his ability. This thing's already almost a boss. Almost? Bruh, I am not fighting something with over 100k HP. Fuck out of here. Already feels like a boss to me. On the other hand, Gantz is, well, a normal early game warrior. Gantz doesn't even seem that impressive, if I'll be honest with you. No, wait, since the Sword Saint's level 120, is he actually really strong by the standards of this age? As always, I can't seem to get a good handle on the general level of this world. Well, he shouldn't be weak, at least probably while I had all the running around in my head. Gantz continued to talk. Lastly, there's the Nobles District in the center. Okay, rich ass son of a guns, I'm going to guess. This is the area where only people of a certain status may live, like royalty or nobles, I figured, and it has basically no connection to us. If you try to sneak in like an idiot, you'll get caught right away, so be careful. Who would even attempt that? You would think if you sneak into a noble's home, you're gonna get killed. So the center, where Migrez probably is a place for the privileged, huh? Sounds about right. That means it'll be real difficult to get in legally. Oh well, I can think about this later. Alright, we're here. This is the terminal. The place we were led to was very different from modern Japanese stations. That was only natural though, with it looking like a metal coffin. I got the feeling that the station was built literally just to let people onto the monorail. Excuse me. There was no escalators or elevators, though there was a fence to stop people from falling in. There was no yellow line. The inside wasn't especially nice, and there weren't any ads and of course, there weren't any electronic screens to display when the next arrival will be. It was literally a bare metal coffin, only there for people to get on and off the monorail. Okay. So they don't have any of the luxurious stuff that I assume in Japan would have when it comes to their their train stations. Because I know those places can get packed. And center of it all, the monorail was also a metal coffin. It was just a square box with windows and sofas. There was no patterns or paintings or any decoration. I guess I would say that we would be riding in a metal coffin inside a metal coffin. Now then, I'm going to leave you here. All right, see you again if the fates will it. Yes, thank you very much, Gantz. You are helpful. We give you our thanks. As expected, Gantz wasn't coming with us all the way to the academics districts. So he said goodbye to us and we did the same. It was more than enough for someone we didn't know to come this far with us. Gave my thanks to the kind mercenary that didn't mind our appearances and got on the monorail. Well, that's good. Well, see ya, Gantz. I hope to see you not dead. I don't know why I said that. Now then, first is the academic district. For now, I'll bone up on everything I don't know. The monorail started moving, but it wasn't really something to get excited over. To the passengers, it didn't make much of a difference whether it was powered by electricity or magic. It was only different enough for me to think that it was a little fast. But when it came to the scenery outside the window, things were different. The lake was so huge it could be mistaken for an ocean. And the city was built on top of that, with lots of buildings all lined up. It greatly aroused my curiosity and made my heart dance. I wasn't sure how old my body was, but with my eyesight I could pick out people going about their lives from inside the monorail, and I was staring at the window at them, feeling almost like a child. I feel like almost every one of us did that as a kid, maybe even a little bit till right now in their adult years. Whenever you guys are on a train, car, or whatever type of like moving vehicle, do you sometimes find yourself looking outside the window and just gazing at the view? Whether it's the clouds, the buildings, the people, nature, animals you can encounter. Don't you find yourself sometimes just looking out the window and just being mesmerized by what's out there? I'll be honest, I'm kind of guilty of this myself. Like sometimes if I'm, like for example, if I'm for one reason or another, I'm in an Uber, a train, a plane or whatever, I tend to have the habit of looking outside the window and just looking at the horizon. I don't know, it's just very calming, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. Just something about looking outside and enjoying the view, regardless whether it regards to people, things, or again, the sky. I just enjoy the view. Again, I'm not sure if I'm the only one guilty of this. I'm sure there's others as well, but it's just something that I wanted to share with you guys. I don't know. Food for thought, or maybe just to be relatable. Okay, I think it was a little, but when it came to the scenery outside, okay, there we go. I wasn't sure how old I already read that. There we go. And when we got off the monorail, the atmosphere changed. The crowd was now full of intelligent looking slender people. It was actually worrying how skinny everyone was. What? Why do you care? All right. Anyway, and it made me want to tell all the people walking past that they needed more exercise. The hell? So you're telling me they need to work out? Like they're slender, they have no meat on their bones. Maybe starvation? Maybe they're going through hard times? But my eyes were explicitly drawn to the beautiful ones with long ears. Elves. Oh, there's elves. For elves, I seem to remember them being forest people that basically never left the woods. But times probably changed in the 200 years. I could see elves walking down the street normally, talking and being friendly with humans. In fact, I could even see a middle-aged humans and 11 elven girls walking around like lovers when I look closer. Humans and elves had far different lifespans, so I bet that witch just looks criminal is probably actually fine and the elf is actually older. In other words, he gets to have an eternally beautiful lover. Go explode. I found a library right away. Fitting for an academic district, it stood out. I was lucky that it was built so close to the station. The library itself was also taller than other buildings and shaped because, like a tower, I went through doors and entered buildings inside. A woman who seemed like the librarian looked at me suspiciously but didn't say anything. The library is open to the public, so I guess that means I'm fine as long as I don't cause any problems. The inside of the building was a circular hall. There were desks lined up in the center with shelves surrounding them. Of course, the shelves didn't completely enclose the desks. There were the fuck does owls? I can't even pronounce that. And passageways left so it didn't feel too constricting. Immediately made for the history section and started looking at the titles lined up on the shelves. The Genesis of Mizgars. Just how did the goddess Alumnus create our world? History of Mizgars, Part 1. The secret of birth of the 7 races of the wars of Mizgars. From the appearance of the devil folk until now. I can ignore this section. Sounds like some Satanist shit, if you ask me. This doesn't have anything on what happened in the last 200 years. It probably doesn't change much from the lore that I know of. What I want to know happens from when I was defeated by the 7 heroes to now. Those 200 years. The Blackwing Tyrant LUFAS. That's the character's name. LUFAS. Gotcha. LUFAS, Mafhal's life and rule. Great persons of history, LUFAS, Mafhal. Was LUFAS Mafhal really evil? A historical inquiry. LUFAS Mafhal, the only ruler to have ever united the world. So this section is all books about me, huh? This might be perfect to find out how the world thinks of me. I took the great persons of history and the historical inquiry books for the moment and moved on. As always, I couldn't move my arms, but ESP's really convenient. If I knew things were gonna turn out like this, I would have gotten my ESP levels to 100, not just 50. But in the game, espers were kinda meh at fighting. ESP being convenient for moving things around was only fluff in the game too. The 7 heroes, the heroes that defeated the Blackwing Tyrant. The glory and foolishness of the 7 heroes. Great persons of history. Aloith, great persons of history. Dobhi. I don't know how you pronounce it. Great persons of history, Mizar. Great persons of history, Fekta. Not sure if I said that right. Again, I'm just guessing, bruh. The peak of humanity and its fall. Did humanity make a mistake? Kill the 7 heroes. Humanity's biggest mistake according to historian William. The section was for the 7 heroes, and it seemed what I wanted to know was here too. The fact that Ms. Megrez isn't among this great person series is, well, it's probably because he's still alive. He's not dead, so it can't be a great person of the past. Let's see. Still, what's surprising is that there's more books here that clearly criticize the 7 heroes than I thought there'd be. Is this okay? The country's founded by one of the 7 heroes. Even though he's not the king right now, that doesn't change the fact that he is a legendary hero to this country. I wouldn't be surprised if the author of these books were deemed guilty of les misgestes. Whatever that says. Were you surprised? You're not actually that hated, Miss LUFAS. It truly is strange. We should be the villain that forcefully conquered the world. Well, there were books like that as well, but time passes, the fear leaves too. And right now, people are starting to think that allowing you to stay would have seen us fighting amongst ourselves less, and wouldn't have to fear the devil folk either. And most importantly, you weren't really all that awful as a tyrant. Dina's words still left me half in doubt. I somehow imagine how people feel towards me. I'm probably being treated like Napoleon or Oda Nobunaga, whoever that is. Looking at history, it's clear that Oda Nobunaga did some pretty awful stuff and put fear in people. But modern Japan was full of people that thought he was cool. And not only are there fans of an Oda Nobunaga, he's even being picked as the protagonist of mangas and novels. Funny thing is, I've heard of this name, but only from like character references, never like history accurate references. Nobody that was actually there and experienced the fear of him would say that, probably, but in the end, they're in the past. It's a viewpoint only achievable because you can look at him like a character in the story. Most likely the authors of those books are human, not elves or something similar. Well, for now, let's just read it. We will probably be here for a while. What will you do, Dinah? Of course, I'll accompany you. I have books I want to read too. Oh? What books? This Mobile Warrior Gunboy Volume 1. Gunboy dies... What the fuck? What is this? Mega Man? A novel? I almost reflexively fired a retort. But it wasn't my fault. I mean, what's up with that novel? It's a volume 1, but the protagonist already dead in the title? The meaning of it is so impenetrable, I'm actually getting interested. By the way, I recommend the second volume, Sorrow, Killed in Action, and the third volume, Chance Meetings of Death. He dies every time? The urge to read it ran through me, but I stood fast. Well, that was the end of this chapter, it seems. Gunboy. So Dina's the yeah. I figured Dina's the one that's recommending it, and she looks extremely fascinated. If I can say so, my girl literally looks completely enchanted by this book. Oh my gosh. Oh, and by the way, the art in this is actually really good. I don't know. I just can't help but mention like the art in this is actually really freaking good. Anyway, let's continue. I sat in an available space in the center and flipped through my selection of books. For now, let's read up on what happened to these past 200 years and compare things. With that decided, I looked at and picked out one of the books I had. Let's see. The goddess Loveness presides over the elements of water and metal. She takes the form of a beautiful girl whose appearance suggests the sea with her blue eyes and hair. But there are also accounts that claim that she has a golden hair like melted moonlight. So the truth is unknown. She's recorded as a kind goddess that loves the world she created, but there are also accounts that suggest she despises certain unsightly beings. Ah, I made a mistake. This isn't it. This isn't the one I want right now. I set the book aside and opened the book I actually wanted to read. LUFAS, Mihal. She was a heaven wing that appeared suddenly 200 years ago, and she unified the world in the blink of an eye. While processing taboo wings at pitch black, she was more beautiful than anyone, even the heaven winged, who placed heavy emphasis on wing color. Who is this woman? For beauty had to admit this. According to Merak of the Seven Heroes, she was strong. just endlessly, relentlessly strong people, monsters, and even devil folk were just small fry to her. Even now, the reason she conquered the world is shrouded in mystery. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm an idiot. We're talking about LUFAS. I'm stupid. I'm sorry, guys. I got way too into the description of this that I couldn't put two to. I get it. It's a LUFAS they're talking about. We're getting into the story of what happened 200 years ago with the heroes, and yeah, after she was. Yep. Sorry. When I went on autopilot for like half a second. Sorry. Anyway, the world is shrouded in mystery. However, according to the people who knew her, Lufus Mahal may have been an invader, but she wasn't a tyrant. I thought she was known for... Okay, let's continue. She used the force, Luke. Sorry. She used the force to unite the world, but not rule through tyranny. Nobilis obliged. The higher class has an obligation to the lower than them. Being a ruler comes with responsibilities. And according to an elf that knew her at the time, this was her favorite saying. Even if you invade using force, once they're under your rule and you are there and are your citizens, you have a duty to protect them. You must take responsibility to protect their way of life, protect their future, and turn the futures of their children as firm as bedrock. Yeah, so essentially Lufus, at least right now, according to the text, she didn't came off as someone that ruled through tyranny. She pretty much won her way through force, and by doing so, the responsibility of the citizens then passed on to her. She gave them a future, she gave them a home, she gave them something to she gave them a place that they could live in without facing the consequences of war or the pain of war. She basically became the, I don't want to say president, but ruler. That was what she said. You might say like an invader such as Lufus can talk. Most likely, this was exactly what people who rebelled against her said at the time. However, it was also true that she never burdened her citizens more than was necessary. In fact, more than once or twice she disposed tyrants just like that who were making their people suffer, as a result saved the country. Lufus Mafhal was no saint. However, was she really a villain either? Now, 200 years later, there are a lot of scholars who raise doubts about her rare breed of villainy. Okay, so this is what granted, I'm not saying this is correct, but this is just my interpretation of this. It looks like in order to seize power, she used force, but she never used that same demonstration of power on the citizens. Once she rose and claimed her position of power, all she did was rule and made quality of life decisions for her citizens. She never forced labor, she never did anything harmful, she never really killed or acted in means of tyranny. She was strict and ruthless to a degree, but she never did anything that would damn her people. I mean, there are her people now because, again, she's the ruler. But anyway, we continue. Doubts, anyway, why did she set out to conquer the world? That is unknown even now. The only ones who would know her 12 heavenly stars are now fearful enemies of humanity, and there is no hope of conversation with them. However, given that she never once acted the tyrant, it might be that she didn't do so out of personal greed. The truth is unknown. The truth remains that we as humanity rejected her, brought her down, and escaped from her rule. However, the result of that wasn't the dawn of humanity, but only the happiness of the devil folk. Who are these devil folks? we keep their name keep getting brought up, but I don't even know what or who they are. It wasn't only humanity that thought of Lufas Mahal as a threat. Even the devil folk truly feared her and were wary. They feared the great power of the Black-Winged Conqueror, the 12 stars that followed her, and the heroes that were gathered due to her power, and they waited. Once their greatest threat was removed, the devil folk moved immediately. Humans who lost Lufas, their ruler, and split into fractions, created a chance that devil folk didn't miss as they went on the attack. In response, the 7 heroes and other warriors of the time rose up against them. However, they no longer had the unity of when they were opposing Lufas, and that fight ended in our loss. 60% of the world became the devil folk's territory, and humanity's living space was compressed considerably, and now humanity only counts 30% of the world as their territory. Wow, we really did lose power. The 7 heroes are now 3, and it wouldn't be surprising if those 3 are just barely keeping the world from crumbling around us. If it's only a temporary quiet. As peace on thin ice, it would no longer be surprising if our world were destroyed at any moment. And what's more, we haven't found a way to break out of this situation either. The world's totally losing. That's what I'm thinking. Like, bro, it seems like when Lufas was in power, humanity was in power. Now that Lufas is gone, humanity is literally on the verge of like total extinction. The heroes are barely doing anything. More than half of them are gone, and these devil folks, whatever they are, they're truly replacing humanity on the food chain. I finished reading, dumbfounded over just how badly the world was doing right now. No, I knew the Devil King was still around, and humanity was desperate enough to try to call a hero. But still, I wasn't making light of the situation. Somewhere in my heart, I only thought of it like, well, if I leave them alone, the hero will appear at some point and sort everything out, probably. Oh wow, so Lufas basically just gave up, like she doesn't care. It's like, shit, not my problem. I mean, this country is really pretty, and at first glance, it's the picture of peace. Normally, no one would assume that the world was doing this badly. This is the first I'm hearing of humanity only living in 30% of the world. No. Well, I did kind of suspect it. Like, it did come to mind that countries are pretty small and squeezed together and stuff. I mean, this country, Svel, that's how you say it, Svel? Is smaller than Hokkaido, too. Not only that, but this is a major country founded by one of the 7 heroes. So I did faintly wonder just how small the world was. In the game, entire countries were just out there on the map as icons. And even though they were countries, they were basically just large cities, which was pretty common thing. So I just didn't pay it that much attention. I just, like, I guess this is how things are. Yep, I was naive. The world's in danger. But now that I think about it, I guess this situation was inevitable. Devil folk still have their Devil King, as well as several of my 12 heavenly stars. On the other hand, humanity lost and the 12 heavenly stars, and probably none of the high-level fighters are around either. All of our levels in general are much lower, and 4 of the 7 stars are gone thanks to lifespans. Of course we'd be on the ropes. In fact, it's nothing but a miracle that we're still holding on. Man, I'm gonna have to hurry up and retrieve the stars that went to the Dark Folks side, or things will be bad, won't they? From what I heard, they turned traitor due to their anger at the heroes defeating me. So I should be able to convince them to come back if I talk to them. Probably, definitely, most likely. I'm just barely able to be optimistic. This just be fun event in a game, but the world is super serious right now, and things are getting worse. Nah, bro. The moment this world The moment you live permanently in this world, it's no longer a game. This is quite literally your home, girly or guy, or I don't know. Ah, drink that too fast. Even though I don't care at all that I was defeated, the winners are all regretful. They've been driven far enough into a corner to be writing history books like this even. It's all just there existed a single castle. However, inside the castle, it was crowded with monsters, no lord in its sight. The throne was left empty, as if it was waiting for someone to return. And it was kept polished. Beside that castle, a giant sheep sat quietly. Its name was ARIES. ARIES was the monster that held the title of Ram, one of the 12 heavenly stars that once served the Black-Winged Conqueror. The sheep was dreaming, a nostalgic dream of the past. ARIES was weak. He was born weak, lived only to be hunted. He was preyed and designated so by fate. He was born like that. ARIES was a rainbow sheep. A rainbow? Huh. A legendary monster said to be born only once every 500 years, who grew wool that shone with the colors of the rainbow, more precious than any endangered species, a rarity among rarities. Every strand of wool was equivalent to gold, and it couldn't be beat as an alchemic agent. If woven into clothing, it would turn into something heavenly that surpassed any armor and yet remained lighter than cotton, and it was the highest quality catalyst for magic and rituals. Just being able to bring down one head's worth of wool and would allow a person and their entire family to live a life of luxury for 7 generations. Damn. Bro, no wonder this freaking RAM would only come out one every 500 years. This thing is worth a fortune if you can get your hands on it, especially as a cub or an infant or whatever. Jesus Christ, bro, that's money. Anyway, rainbow sheep were the definition of a living treasure. However, in other words, they were just a monster that had wool that glowed in rainbow colors. No, not even a monster, just a walking gemstone. Prey that only waited to be hunted. Rainbow sheep were without any weapons to protect themselves or even the legs to run away from enemies. They didn't even have the means to deceive their surroundings. Bro, this thing is a walking target. In fact, with the rainbow glow on their wool, they act... Bro, born to be preyed upon. Jesus Christ. I swear, being born as a wool must suck. In fact, rainbow glow their wool. They actually drew attention from their surroundings, from people, devilfolk, and even their fellow monsters. A rainbow sheep's surroundings were filled with enemies. All living things were their natural enemies. That's sad. That was ARIES, a pitiful specimen of a prey to be hunted. If the goddess Alumnus, who created this world, also intentionally created rainbow sheep, could there be any crueler punishment? Just what meaning did this creature have? Good question. What was the point of this creature other than to be taken advantage of? All it could do was fear its enemies, hide, run, and eventually be reaped. Just what kind of meaning did such a life hold? Every day was a dance with death. Not even a moment existed where a rainbow sheep could truly rest. The rainbow sheep feared its eventual demise and continued to weep. That was exactly why that meeting was a miracle to him. Long-haired like fire fluttering in the breeze, a pair of eyes that burned crimson, looks that were perfection personified, and pitch black wings that symbolized God's abandonment. Ooh, I like I like that description. That was kind of cool. Aries remembered that meeting even now. There was no way he could forget. Even if he were to be destroyed and his soul reincarnated several times over, he could never forget. His salvation, its origin, was all concentrated in that moment. Oh, a rainbow sheep. I'm in luck to find one here. It was back when his great master was still immature and still referred to herself as I instead of we. However, she was already showing glimpses of her future as a ruler. Aries, who was running away from everything as usual, met her. I'll be eaten. The first thing Aries felt when he saw her was the overwhelming presence of a predator. He couldn't run, and he couldn't win. No matter what, he'd be killed and eaten. That was the future of Aries saw. Compared to her as the great conqueror, LUFAS at that moment was, of course, immature, but even so, to Aries she was an unmistakable disaster. She was already too strong for any modern swordman to even lay a scratch on her. What? You're trembling. You won't fight back or even run? You wish to be killed without doing anything? LUFAS approached Aries, who neither ran nor put up any resistance. Aries was frustrated. Why am I so weak? Why am I so miserable? The weak had always been eaten by the strong. Unreasonably, the weak would end as simple food. Even now, Aries had given out, and he wasn't able to run. He was only able to wait for death. This is too sad. It's just way too sad. Are you crying? Having been told so, Aries finally noticed the droplets staining his cheeks. He was crying. He pitied himself, scorned himself, and used his voice that wasn't even voiced to scream out the world's absurdity. But still, the predators never cared. However, she didn't kill Aries. Instead, she asked the weakling with its head hung low, "What value do tears have? Is there some sort of self-satisfaction in laminating how pitiful, unfortunate you are?" How laughable. If you're going to laminate your fleeting body, then try striking back at your opponent even once. Instead of hanging your head, try lifting your face and glaring murderously. Instead of weeping, use that mouth of yours to bite into your enemy's neck. Instead of grieving over what was taken, steal it back. At the very least, that's how I've always lived. And how I keep living. What right do you have to say that? Aries thought. She gets to say that because she's strong. She gets to say that because she has the strength to not be stolen from. What right does she have to say that? She can't even understand my pain. What will you do? Now what will you do? Will you just sit there and be killed by me? Will you try to escape or put up some sort of resistance? If you say that you're a beast lower than some loser mongrel, then fine, I will kill you here and now. Aries clenched his teeth. He thought, I don't want to be killed by someone like this. I don't want to die while being made fun of by this person, he thought. Betting his entire existence on not wanting to die like this, he roared from his heart, louder than ever before. Yeah, that's right. I don't want to die. I don't want to die miserably like this. Aries, who took back his previously forgotten thirst for life, made his first attack ever, baring his unreliable teeth, which couldn't even be called fangs. Aries bit into LUFAS' arm. He was convinced, surely, he would die right afterwards. He would be killed by this scary one with black wings. Angry she was wounded like this. However, that prediction never came true. LUFAS made no move to attack Aries. She was biting into her arm. Oh, who was biting into her arm? Then, In a voice that was strange in how kind it was, she said, "That's right. Be like that. So, you can do it if you try." Aries unintentionally loosened his jaw. She was no longer, no, she didn't have any desire to fight in the next page. First place. Aries just got scared on his own and sensed hostility out of his own imagination. When he realized that, Aries released the girl's arm from his jaws. "That's the correct choice, sheep. If you're living, roar and bite. No matter if you choose to run or fight. Struggle with all your might. Don't become fodder just waiting to be eaten." That was when Aries finally realized she was strong, but also the same as him, the heaven-winged prized whiteness above all else. There was no way those black wings wouldn't stand out. There was no way she wouldn't be shouldering something unreasonable. Something like unwarranted prejudice or slander. She probably experienced mountains of that, or something similar. However, she didn't feel ashamed. She didn't pity herself. She struggled with all her might. She fought, and she was still here. She boldly laughed as someone strong was standing right there. "Ah, I wanted to be like that," Aries thought. Aries shed tears as she cried out, "I want to be like her." She, his great master, responded, "Then come with me. I am still immature myself. I don't yet have the power to crush the unfairness of our world between my teeth." She then I'll show you. I will become strong. I will turn into even bigger tyrant than anyone else and die this world in my rule. Become strong, Aries, along with me." Aries grabbed the hand that was offered along with those words. That was the story of the meeting between Aries of the 12 heavenly stars and the Black Wing Conqueror. It was a precious memory that would never fade, no matter how much time passed. "I won't forget. I'll never forget. No matter what happens, I will not forget. Not this memory." Aries would absolutely never forget his only master, his savior, sorry. While reading, I thought of one thing, and that was a sense of doubt over Aries, who was currently attempting to invade this country, and how unlike of him that was. Right, based on their encounter of Aries and LUFAS, it was genuine, it was pure. Maybe somehow Aries got corrupted. But because based on this little encounter, Aries, well, when you're preyed upon your whole life and hunted all your life, it's only natural that maybe you hold some resentment toward the world. But anyway, let's continue. I want to at least finish this page. Aries was a rainbow sheep, a harmless monster that enjoyed peace and hated fighting. So why was he attempting an invasion? No, I already know why. It's because LUFAS was defeated by the 7 stars. Okay. So revenge for his savior. But was he really someone who could lead and take revenge like this? In the game, tame monsters only followed around behind their tamer and never spoke. That's why players had no choice but to imagine things based off of the monster's race and background, or delude themselves into thinking one monster's personality varied compared to another's. Okay, I think I'll end this right here. I'm on page 86. Page 86, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna end this right here though, guys. Man, this was a really good read. I'll be honest, this was actually a very good read. I especially like the meeting between this one of LUFAS's heavenly stars, Aries. I don't know, I felt like that was a very wholesome and pure encounter. There was something so beautiful about it that was, I'll be honest, it almost got me a little bit in the tears. Like, I'll be honest, I felt something a little there for Aries, as well as I definitely like how Lufus really tried to like show him like, don't give up on your life. Don't be so willing to accept death like this. You're like, just because you are hunted, just because you're easily targetable, doesn't mean you should abandon your own life like this. Fight for it. Your life is as precious as anyone else. Don't think that you're any less than, don't think that you're less than any other person or any other animal. Lufus wanted to inspire that need to live in Aries. And that's what made Aries cry. I'll be honest, that was actually very touching. Aries discovered his own worth thanks to Lufus. I'll be honest, how is Lufus even... Lufus doesn't sound like a horror... Of course, I guess maybe on paper, and I guess maybe some of the things Lufus says kind of comes off as like a tyrant, a dictator, someone with extreme ambitions, which Lufus does have ambition, but it almost feels like ambition disguised impurity and consideration, right? Am I tripping? Anyway, let me know your overall thoughts, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this read. Look forward to more reading in the upcoming week. Peace. See you guys in the next read along.